You don't think Tyson is a serious opponent for him?
Come on. 61 years. I saw him the other day. I love Tyson. I told him,
He can punch.
of course, he's got a puncher's chance the first 3 rounds. I'm a little scared of Tyson getting hurt after the 3rd round.
Right.
Jake Paul's a big boy. He's, what, 26 years old? Tyson's 61. I'm happy for Tyson that he's making money and that Tyson still loves it and he's getting in there, he's in shape.
Right.
But just be careful.
Boxing pros have just given a brutal warning to Mike Tyson ahead of his fight with Jake Paul. In fact, Tyson himself is claiming that training is taking a toll on. As he gets ready to face Paul, Tyson admits that things are a little shaky. Tyson, who mentioned he's training between 3 and 4 times a day, said, "It's hard to walk right now, but 2 months from now, I'm going to be perfect." After being out of action for weeks due to a flare-up of an ulcer, Tyson took to the spotlight on Friday to discuss his upcoming November 15th bout with Paul. During a Cage Wars event, a mixed martial arts promotion, he fielded questions about his recovery and offered insights on his preparations. The MMA event took place in Schenectady, New York, just an hour's drive from the city where Tyson became the youngest world heavyweight boxing champion ever. Tyson was informed by a frequent Cage Wars announcer that the tournament will begin on Friday 3 hours earlier than usual. The announcer asked, "Is that so that you can get a good night's sleep and make sure you're up early tomorrow morning to get to start training for Jake Paul? We're trying to get you out of here a little early tonight," replied Tyson. "No, I'm going to enjoy my time here tonight with all my childhood friends, and the hell with Jake Paul." Recently, Tyson mentioned that he completed 6 rounds of sparring. As he ramps up his preparation for the upcoming heavyweight fight, he'll be increasing his sparring sessions to 10 rounds, in anticipation of the 8 2-minute rounds he'll face in the bout. Tyson said, "The fight is won in the gym." Tyson is employing stem cells and electric stimulation to help him recover. He added, "Listen, I'll do anything that will help me." Moreover, Mike Tyson claims he's beyond financial concerns. So what's driving him to step into the ring with 27-year-old Jake Paul? Tyson said, referring to his cannabis company, Tyson 2.0, "I could be waiting on a check every day from cannabis. That's BS for me. I'm a man. I want to go out there and I want to expose myself to risk. Sometimes I want to see who I really am. I want to see what I'm really made out of." Before this, his reasons for the upcoming fight against Paul had been somewhat vague. Tyson said, "I want to perform in front of the world. To me, that's all I ever knew how to do since I was 14. On Friday night, seated ringside with his son Amir at Rivers Casino and Resort in Schenectady, New York, he radiated excitement for the fights. This was a far cry from his Brooklyn roots, roughly 180 miles away, and not far from the place where he honed his skills and became a heavyweight world champion under the guidance of the late Cus D'Amato, about 50 miles from where he now sat. Despite the main focus of Cage Wars, the usual 2 commentators frequently diverted the discussion back to Tyson and his upcoming bout with Paul, which Netflix will livestream. Paul recently claimed he'd pocket $40 million from the fight, but Tyson seemed to downplay the financial significance. Tyson said, "This fight is not going to change my life financially enough. This is just what I want to do." Tyson stated that he no longer has ulcers and that his blood count is almost back, in reference to the ulcer flare-up that caused the fight to be postponed. In July, Tyson went back to training, according to Andrew Ruff, his agent. With just 2 months until the fight, Tyson shared that he recently completed 6 rounds of sparring. As he ramps up his training for the bout, he plans to extend his sparring sessions to 10 rounds, preparing for an 8-round match with each round lasting 2 minutes. The unease surrounding the fight, which will be featured on Netflix, has intensified with UFC legend Ken Shamrock voicing his skepticism during a discussion with Ukrainian-American interviewer DJ Vlad. Shamrock expressed doubts about Tyson's ability to compete at the top level, despite his storied career. He also warned that a loss for Paul could be a significant blow to his supporters. Shamrock predicted that Jake Paul would not be able to win, and if he did, it would leave a significant negative impact on the boxing world. He suggested it would be a disappointment to an organization that held great admiration for Mike, comparing the outcome to a sense of loss, almost like the end of someone. He underlined one more that Jake Paul taking on Mike Tyson is comparable to taking on a physically handicapped opponent.
Jake Paul can't win. If he wins...
Yeah, he wins. Oh, you beat up an old man.
No, he wins. There's a huge bad taste in the world of boxing. It's a disappointment to an organization that has loved Mike Tyson. It is like the death of somebody.
The UFC Hall of Famer added that many boxing fans likely believe Mike will defeat Jake Paul because of their knowledge of Mike's skills. However, he noted that if Mike enters the ring without the expected presence and ability, it might come across as if Jake Paul had simply beaten someone who is severely disadvantaged, likening it to beating up someone in a wheelchair.
And it should be victorious for Jake Paul, and I think on that small group of people that are following, yes, But in the world of boxing, and that whole atmosphere of boxing is going to feel like somebody died. And it may not happen. Mike may knock him out, may be able to get to him because Mike is that good. But it's also that you also know there is a chance. And if you know that there's a chance, then Mike isn't Mike.
DJ Vlad drew a parallel between this situation and Trevor Berbick's victory over the iconic Muhammad Ali in Ali's final professional fight in 1981. Following that match, Berbick earned the ire of the boxing world for defeating the 39-year-old Ali, who was well beyond his prime. In recounting this, the interviewer hinted that if Paul were to knock out Tyson, he might find himself similarly reviled within the boxing community. Additionally, the bout could pose significant risks to Tyson's health. Shamrock and Vlad aren't alone in their worries about Mike Tyson's health before his bout with Jake Paul. Former heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder also voices his belief that this fight should never have been approved. Deontay Wilder expressed his discontent with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation for approving the professional match between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. This bout, scheduled for 8 2-minute rounds, has raised concerns despite the modified rules. The risk of injury for Tyson remains a serious and tangible threat. I think it's bad the commission has licensed Mike Tyson because he hasn't been active in 20 years, so they should not just license him because of who he is. That's how people get hurt. God forbid he gets hurt, Wilder stated in a media interview. The Bronze Bomber also said that Tyson might even end up in a coma if he is hit in the wrong place, claiming that he is too old to be fighting. At the end of the day, no one gives a f about Mike, he said regretfully. Despite the objections voiced by some, it appears that the key stakeholders are fully supportive of the match. For the organizers, that's all that truly counts. Jim Lampley, the legendary boxing commentator, has cast doubt on the authenticity of the much-anticipated bout between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, labeling it as not real. Lampley's skepticism echoes the sentiments of numerous critics who question the fight's legitimacy. On the Awful Announcing podcast, Lampley expressed skepticism about the authenticity of the match, echoing concerns that are widely felt throughout the boxing community. He said, "My opinion is, for me, and what really matters is what does Mike want to do? The audience loves him, the audience wants to see him. Jake Paul is a creature of social media. I, to this day, do not participate in social media. Think you can tell that I am basically old-fashioned. It's not an event that appeals to me, and I wouldn't expect to see anything meaningful for a serious boxing critic or reporter." Both Tyson and Paul have pledged to deliver knockouts when they enter the ring at AT&T Stadium, despite the skepticism. Tyson's most recent ring appearance was an exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr. in 2020, which concluded in a draw after 8 rounds, adhering to rules akin to those for his forthcoming bout with Paul. This will be his second fight in 2 decades. In contrast, Jake Paul, who is 3 decades junior to Tyson, has stepped into the ring professionally 11 times, accumulating 10 victories along the way. His sole defeat occurred against Tommy Fury in 2022. In his latest bout, Paul clinched a win by halting former UFC fighter Mike Perry in the 6th round, paving the way for his upcoming clash with Tyson. Lampley added, "The only reason I would watch it is in homage and loyalty to my very dear friend Mike Tyson. This is not going to be real boxing. This is not going to be a fight between 2 boxers who've trained most of their lives within the technique of boxing and who are at or near their physical peak. That's not what we're talking about." Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are primed for a clash of titans, locked in a fierce gaze that promises explosive action. On one side, a legendary heavyweight champion who ruled the ring for years. On the other, a trailblazer currently transforming the world of combat sports. This face-off is a harbinger of the electrifying night ahead, filled with high-octane drama and relentless punches. For fans who doubted the bout's reality, the anticipation is now undeniable. Following his clever disguise to gain entry to UFC 306 Noche UFC on Saturday night, Paul made a direct flight to Arlington. There, Tyson was eagerly awaiting his arrival. Together, they met with Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, who graciously granted them access to the impressive AT&T Stadium to launch their promotional campaign for the upcoming fight. Paul, sporting a 10-1 record, took to social media to showcase his intense stare-down and face-off with Tyson, who boasts a 50-6 record. The dramatic encounter unfolded at the heart of the stadium, where they exchanged a firm handshake before the Cowboys kicked off their game against the New Orleans Saints. In his post, the YouTuber-turned-boxer drew a grand parallel to the Super Bowl, captioning it, "Just like the Super Bowl." Paul seemed to loom larger and taller than Tyson, casting a shadow over him with his imposing stature and age. This physical edge might tip the scales in his favor, but the outcome will remain a mystery until November 15th. In the meantime, time, fans have swarmed the comment section, passionately debating the potential twists of the upcoming bout. A supporter brought up the fight's financial significance, pointing out that both competitors would be taking home sizable paychecks. They declared both will walk away from this fight paid more than ever. Notably, Paul revealed that the fight might bring in a salary of around $40 million, which would be his largest payday to date. Someone thought Tyson's face showed warning indicators. They claimed, "I'm sorry, but Mike looks scared." Concerns about Tyson's health and advanced age have been raised as potential reasons why he might end the fight. Furthermore, it's debatable if he still possesses the same strength as in his prime. Paul seemed to be losing their favor, according to someone. They announced, "Jake Paul gets uglier by the second." It might be a reference to Paul's antics outside of the ring, or his recent propensity to match up competitors who were losing ground. Paul was criticized in a statement for sparring opponents that were far older than him. The comment read, "Jake Paul, the king of beating senior citizens." Paul recently defeated Mike Perry, a man who was considerably older than him at 33 and had a little boxing history. Finally, there was a supporter who stated their fears and hoped for Tyson to win. They revealed, "Mike better win, bro. I'm seriously doubting him." Tyson was pushing the fight because he was having trouble with an ulcer flare-up. The supporters are worried about him because of his previous health concerns, even though he is depending on electromagnetic stimulation and stem cells to recuperate and get ready for the fight. Paul might have youth in his favor, but Tyson brings a wealth of professional experience to the ring. It remains to be seen which element will prove more decisive in the outcome of the fight. Joe Rogan has recently shared his thoughts on the forthcoming fight, revealing his deep disappointment if it were to conclude in a particular manner. Speaking on a recent episode of his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, he reckons Paul is being dismissed due to his social media beginnings and believes he is perfectly capable of knocking Tyson out. But he also shared how he would be real bummed if Tyson was knocked out by Paul. Rogan said, "Paul has real power. I really hope he doesn't knock Mike Tyson out. I would just be real bummed out to see Mike get KO'd at 58 years old. If Paul zigs when he should have zagged, Mike can close the distance in a way that he doesn't expect. And Mike also has layers upon layers of attacks that are in his mind. He's forgotten more about boxing than Jake Paul has ever remembered." On his podcast, Rogan previously examined the prospects of both fighters facing off and highlighted that, despite his age, Tyson shouldn't be counted out. 58 is 58 no matter what. But 58-year-old Mike Tyson is not 50-year-old Mike Jones who lives down the street. It's a different kind of human being, and he can still knock your head into another dimension if he can catch you, the UFC commentator explained. He added, "The thing is, can he catch a 28-year-old guy who's on the top of his career and winning legitimate boxing matches?" The boxing community has eagerly anticipated the clash between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul for quite some time. However, Joe Rogan harbors reservations about what Tyson's take on this matchup might be. UFC commentator Joe Rogan supports Tyson's autonomy in making his own decisions, but voices concern over his health. The fight's delay to November, due to Tyson's stomach ulcers, raises questions about his physical well-being. "I wish he didn't do it. I wish it wasn't a thing," Rogan said. On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, he added, "I wish it wasn't a thing where a 58-year-old guy was going to fight a 28-year-old. That said, I fully support his desire to do it. What? Is he going to live forever? No, he's not going to live forever. Maybe he wants one more shot at it. Maybe his body can do one more fight. I don't know." Rogan further mentioned, "He looks great on the mitts, but I can look good on the mitts, especially if you're watching 30-second clips. What you want to see is him sparring. You want to see him hitting the bag for multiple rounds. Let's see 3 rounds hard on the bag. I want to see what you can do. I want to see how your feet move. I want to see what it looks like if you're off balance when you're throwing combinations." Carl Froch, the former super middleweight world champion, has emerged as one of the fiercest critics of the impending showdown between heavyweight icon Mike Tyson and social media sensation Jake Paul. Commenting after watching Tyson joke around with Paul at a pre-fight press conference, Froch suggested, "I think he is just playing his role. In my opinion, Mike Tyson has probably got the script." In a recent interview, the British spokesperson reiterated his earlier remarks, suggesting that Tyson would probably approach the Netflix-streamed match with a casual attitude, treating it more like a game than a serious competition. "Is it out of the question, or is it ridiculous to think that Mike Tyson might think I'll get paid an extra few quid and put a bit of a show on?" Froch asked rhetorically. He added, "He's not going to have more than a round or 2 in him, so just play the game. Mike Tyson is going to play the game. You saw him playing the game at the press conference. He did that half-hearted shove when he was laughing and jumping around the stage all giddy. He kinda doesn't know how to play the part. He's trying, but it just looked like a load of crap to me." Paul was accused by Froch of pretending to be a fighter when he accepted the fight in the first place. He said, "I don't think it should be happening because Mike Tyson's an old man. With utmost respect, he's 58. I'm too old to box and I'm 47. He's 58. And Mike Tyson was well past his best in his early 40s. Mike Tyson was losing to people that weren't fit to lace his boots. That's my point. And that was about 20 years ago. So what's it going to be like now 20 years later against the 26-year-old fake Paul? When asked about the alleged current lifestyle of Tyson, Froch put heavy focus on his smoking habits. He smokes a lot of weed, doesn't he? Despite Tyson previously explaining that he is an advocate for weed and cannabis and its health benefits, Froch still feels it is not benefiting Tyson from a boxing standpoint. He's still burning weed. It's combustion, the way he inhales it. It's not good for you. Froch went on to criticize the fight's sporting value, implying that Tyson was simply participating for financial gain. He said, "I don't know how much Tyson needs the money either. He's making lots of money. It's sad, really, if he's fighting for money. I just pray that Tyson doesn't get injured, doesn't get hurt by that idiot fake Paul." The insults toward Paul continued as Froch declared that the 27-year-old wouldn't fight anyone with a pulse. The Cobra has previously made it clear that he would be open to a fight with the problem child, but indicated that he doesn't expect it to happen, adding, "He pretends not to know who I am." Reports reveal that the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation plans to conduct Tyson's medical evaluations on November 14th. Just a day before the scheduled 8-round bout. If Tyson fails these checks, the fight might be reduced to an exhibition or even canceled altogether. Carl Froch, however, wouldn't be shedding any tears if the match were to be called off. Mike Tyson established himself as one of the best American boxers of all time with his incredible career, which included 50 victories and just 6 losses. In contrast, Jake Paul has taken a break from social media to dedicate himself fully to his boxing ambitions. He's set his sights on turning professional and has even thrown down the gauntlet to Iron Mike for a fight later this year. For numerous boxing enthusiasts, the bout between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is a wild card. Despite Paul's advantage of being 3 decades younger, Tyson's vast experience and legendary status as one of the sport's greatest ever present a significant challenge. Experts are inclined to favor Jake Paul because his youth and agility could provide a significant advantage. On the other hand, while Tyson's past achievements are undeniable, he might not possess the same level of sharpness as he did in his prime. Boxers and analysts have weighed in with their predictions, and now a former adversary of Jake Paul has joined the conversation. Ben Askren, who faced Paul in his 3rd professional bout, is confident in the YouTuber-turned-boxer's victory. However, he also recognizes the indelible legacy of Tyson. Askren told Daniel Cormier, "I feel like that's how it's gonna go. It's gonna be competitive early. 58 is old, and he's probably gonna get tired, and yeah, it's not a win-win. You're beating up a 58-year-old. He's 58, he hasn't been actively competitive in 20 years. He added, "Wouldn't we all love to see Tyson winning? Let's not get our hopes up. Santa may not bring you anything nice, but if he does, it'll be a great surprise." Although numerous analysts consider the match a potential walk in the park for Paul, given Tyson's advancing age, Anderson Silva, who faced Paul in 2022, has shed light on why this fight remains so enthralling for fans. Silva said, "I mean, that's so interesting. A lot of people say, oh, Mike Tyson's old. It doesn't matter. It's a different game. It's a different sport. It's entertaining. It's not the same when you see Canelo and the other different level boxing guys." Silva said that given Jake Paul's demonstrated prowess as a fighter, he ought to be treated with greater deference. He said, "Why the people don't respect this kid? I respect him a lot because the kid changed the whole game in this era." Despite facing mostly inexperienced rivals, Paul is a committed athlete, stays sharp in the gym, and possesses formidable knockout power. In an interview with Canada Casino, Paulie Malignaggi expressed his strong alignment with this viewpoint. He said, "Head blows from young, strong guys at Mike's age aren't good. When you're younger, you can handle hits better. When you're older, your body isn't made for that kind of damage anymore. Things could go badly wrong. If something like that happened, people would be calling for the sport to be banned. The former world champion thinks the fight ought to be stopped before it starts." Malignaggi added, "Personally, I don't think his fight with Jake Paul should happen. He'll be 58 years old by then. 58 is still 58. We live in a generation that doesn't understand aging is a real thing. You can show highlights of Mike from the 80s, but the guy stepping into the ring won't be that same Mike Tyson. You're selling pay-per-views based on nostalgia, not reality. The fact that the public won't understand that is mind-boggling." He further added, "Hitting someone Tyson's age has serious risks. Tyson wasn't taking punches well at 36, let alone now. If you hit a guy who's that old, it affects them. Imagine what getting hit by a strong guy like Jake would do to him. I wouldn't want to find out." Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.